Welcome back to the Stoic Dev. I want to show you, instead of doing this whole log thing, which I thought was pretty good, I noticed as I was cleaning this up in preparation for today that if you squish it down a little bit, it sort of looks like a Git log. And I am an advocate for using Git the right way, not just the basic way. And so instead of using the log, as we've been doing the last few channels, I decided to go ahead and say, git log, one line. There you go. There's all the stuff that we did. It's basically the same, right? So if you want to see what we did, I think you should go and look at the log. And as far as what we're going to do this time, I decided to take the log and put the to-do section inside of the README, and then that's not uncommon. It's just clean. Keeps it handy. So as something comes up when we're in there, we can just throw another to-do item, and we'll see it here. And so we'll just pick from the list. So today we are going to add error handling to our API routes. So let's do that. Make sure everything's running. We got here Mongo running, and over here our server is running. But I'm going to shut the server off because you know what? We are going to use tests to figure this out. Now if we look, close that. Let me close that, as I said. If we go and look here, when we have been pretty fast and loose with our routes, right? And when we go and look at the error handling, see all these to-dos we've got floating around. Like I mentioned before, they're consistent, so at least that's something. It's going to be easier to change because they all look the same. But when we hit an error, which will happen from time to time, we don't even resolve the request. We just kind of die painfully. So let's do something different. Let's start with a test. And right now all of our routes we're only dealing with this items entity, right? So we've got a get, we've got post, delete, put, our CRUD, right? Create, read, update, delete. So we don't have a generic route, generic handler, which we should later, but we'll get there. So let's just do something simple, like I want to F to say focus. F it should respond with an error message. Now I don't even know how we're going to do this exactly. But just to get it on the board, we can say, I expect 1 to be 2. That shouldn't work. Oh, not even running the test. Let's see. Yarn, start up our tests with yarn test, say watch, and bail. Means run every time there's a change and stop running every time you hit an error, or report every time there's an error. And don't run the subsequent tests. So we expect 2 to be 1. Okay, well, that's not super useful. Oh yeah, I saw another typo here. Update. It's hard to talk while doing this, so you might see typos sometimes. I'm sorry. Anyway, so let's kind of use this as an example. Let's see. If we had another situation, what was it, where we were trying to put, yesterday we were trying to put an item that didn't actually exist, right? And so here it is. We say find the item and update. And here, when it goes through this routine, it finds the item, and then we go ahead and merge the stuff. We'll get back to this later. But here, if we don't get the item, so if the ID that we send in, it can't find an item by that, it should be throwing an error, right? So this seems like a pretty cool example to use. So let's go steal our put example. Put. Just dump it in there. So we're going to request to the app put items. I'm going to change this to not a real ID. Change the surrounding to that. And it doesn't even matter what we send it. Oh, I guess it does want. Let's see. You know, we don't even need to send it anything. That's not part of what we're testing. I shouldn't have saved. Wasn't ready for that. So we're going to expect. We don't want a 200. We should get a. Well, should get a 400 because the item was not found. I don't know if we want to. Okay, so we will get various error messages if, you know, there are different reasons something might not work. So in different situations, whether it's you're not authorized, maybe it's, you know, what is it, 301, 401, 403, if you're not authorized to access something, if there was just a, I don't know what happened, general error, be it 500, if the resource you're talking about is not found, in this case, it'd be a 400 or 400 series. So there would be for different errors, there would be different types of response codes. And that was what we're expecting here. This is going to be a generic sort of crap, you know, oops, it didn't work. And I don't want to test these different codes right now. As this evolves, maybe we can do that. All I want to test is that we send some BS and we get back JSON, because that's how we're talking to it. No more of this, you know, generic HTML response stuff. We're going to get back JSON, and we're going to have a status of error. As far as what's in there, I don't really care right now. So let's walk through this. We're going to put something, and we are going to set to say, I want application JSON, and we expect to get JSON. And then in our response, we expect the body to have a status error, and you know, there should probably be a message in there too. But let's just start here. Let's see. Responds with an error message. What? This isn't right, is it? Oh. Return. Yeah. So yeah, this is asynchronous, obviously. So all of this stuff happened after the test was done running. So now it's not happy. So it's cast object ID failed, blah, blah, blah. So there's all sorts of crap. We are getting an error. This is the console error right here, 82. If we go look over here, it's saying, hey, there was an error. Oh, so this is the mongoose error that's saying, dude, I don't know what ID that is, or I don't know what that matches. And on top of that, we're saying, hey, we're supposed to get a response with an error message, and it failed. It said, hey, it timed out after 5 seconds. So, okay, we've got a couple of things going on. And so this is true. This is returning console error, but it never, the way that Express works, these handlers, they have the response, right? So we would need to send something like down here. If it was successful, we say, hey, response JSON, blah, and that kind of, it sends the response back. Here, we're just logging this big error over here, but we're not actually doing anything with the response. And there's no next in the like middleware to handle it. So the request sort of fell into this handler, we logged something, and then it kind of just died waiting there. Bad form, which is what we're here to fix, right? So let's be super cool, and let's just say return send error. Here's my response. Do a little bit of dependency injection here. And we'll just baby step our way through this. So we're going to say send error response. Okay. Now our linter is starting to kick in. You can see here it says const. Right away, our linter can kind of help us. It says send error is not defined. By Jove, you're right. Let's do const send error equals give me a response, and I will give you JSON status error. Let's do that. Oh my goodness, happy, so happy. Are you sure this is working? Let's change this to suspicious. It can't be that easy, right? Oh, sure enough, it says, hey, I expected it to be this, but I got blah. Oh, okay, you're right. So that's it. That is a generic error handler. Of course, we are making a lot of assumptions here. We're not really sending any good info. We're just assuming that it wants JSON. We're not actually checking. Then again, in our other requests, our get and post and all that stuff, we haven't interrogated the request to see if it wants JSON in any of these, which might have been something we could change. But anyway, this is fine. We have this assumption that we're going to be dealing with JSON. This is an API. And that's sort of the language of APIs. It would be kind of silly for some client to be sending us something else or expecting something else. And what are we even talking about? This is the pet project with, like one user. So I think this is okay here. We could change this to make it, error is not super useful, right? What if we sent some, let's see. I would like to use a proper code, but we'll figure that out later. It would be nice to have a friendly message too. So like, say the convention we can have, for the other stuff we have status, success, and then here's your item or items. And for error messages, we could have a status error, and here's a message. And this is just for developer, really. And in this case, we would expect it to be something like, I don't know, not found or something. Let's see. Let's make it item not found. I mean, we could throw that right in there. Sure, that'll work. Kind of silly though. What if instead of that, we made a message? And here we put it right in. Send error. Item not found. That works. Of course, this is this might be different if there may be a problem connecting to the database or something like that. So there might be another situation where we get an error that's not the item was unfound. But anyway, this seems fine for now. This will point us in the right direction. Now the cool thing is all these other to-dos, well, not all of them, but many of the other to-dos where we said handle error, we can now handle the error. So let's move send error up here. And in each of these, let's say if there's an error, then we're going to say return send error press unable to get items. I guess I should be testing these, but you know. And if there's an error here, we're going to change it to unable to create item. And here, zero. What happened? All right. So we're going to go forward to the quote, change inner quotes. Wait, that's the one we just did. No, it's not. Find and remove. We're going to change it to unable to remove item. These are not very useful messages. It's all right. Anyway, so now our error handling is much better. Let's check it out in Postman and just try throwing some crap at it and see how it works. So let's see. Get all of our items. Yay! Oh, okay. Remember the way that this super test stuff works is it's got a whole reference to the entire app here, right? And it's bypassing. It's not going through the actual server that we would normally run. As such, our server was not running. But now it is. And now when we send, say get all the items. There they are. And let's add one. There it is. And let's add, what's another one we can do? Let's update the items. This guy. Updated. Now what happens if we give it some nonsense? Item not found. Look at that. So nice, pretty. Now it's giving us a 200, which is a little misleading. But that's okay. We're going in the right direction rather than just not resolving. So we now have a generic error message here, or a generic error handler. Remember, this is only for items though. So if we sent this to another path, I don't know what's going on. And we'll get to that stuff later. Anyway, so this looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and stop this. And quit out of this. You see that? I'm recording in a macro. Oh, yay. So now let's look at get status. Let's review what we did. We added our cool send error, and we took out all these to-dos and used send error. Pretty cool. And we wrote a test for it. So get status, get add this, get commit, add generic error handler for item routes. That's it. So that was not too bad. And now our code is a little drier. And we should be able to identify and recover from goofs with sending items like we did in some of the past tests. It was we're getting misleading results. Remember wondering why this stuff wasn't working. Anyway, so it's a step in the right direction. So thank you very much. Pretend that there's some really interesting sign off here. I don't know. I'll have to brand myself later. Anyway, see you next time.